us wisdom. I just thank you for the many blessings that you give the staff in this city and the citizens. And Lord, I just pray that you would be with us as we do the work that you call us to do. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Please remain standing for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now our Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You have your seat. We will open with a public hearing regarding a request by the owner agent of the property situated in the city of Alstyne, county of Grayson, state of Texas, being described as rear 2nd edition, block 15, lot place 2, more commonly known as 763 North Sherman Lane, for a variance to the comprehensive zoning regulation section 27.3, accessory building regulation, side yard, and section 27.4, accessory building regulations, rear yard, section 31, non-conforming uses and structures. The owner agent is requesting the variance to grant a minimum rear and side yard of approximately 3.5 feet for the property, which is currently zoned single family 1. This request is being made by Ned and Patricia Ireland due to the fact that their request is not in a new edition, but in one of the older editions in the city of Van Alstyne. Does council have any questions regarding this? Councilman White?
Is it in our packet?
Yes. It's right here.
It's on board adjustments.
There's,
Okay.
Do you have it or?
I guess I have it.
Okay.
I'll give you time to look it over. Councilwoman Porter? No comments or questions. Councilman Smith? Councilman Jennings?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Moore? Councilman Flake?
No.
Is there a motion that this be approved? Do I? Oh, I'm sorry, we're just doing a hearing. We will go to number 5, which is consider and take action regarding this request. Since there are no questions, is there a motion concerning this? I have a motion. Is there a second? I'll second it. Is there any discussion? Councilman Flake?
No.
Councilman Moore? Councilman Jennings? Councilman Smith? All of those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. It is granted. Now I will take a motion that we adjourn from this part of the agenda. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. We will go to the regular agenda. Thank you, Bruce. Will the city council meeting of Tuesday, October the 8th, 6:30, please come to order? Do we have any citizens communication, Jennifer?
Yes, ma'am.
I think we do. That's okay. They don't have to be ordered. Each participant will have 3 minutes in which to speak. I think that we should explain to you, if you have something that is specifically mentioned on the agenda, you can sign up to speak at that time or just speak up now. This one right here. Okay, we have John Garrett. Mr. Garrett, would you please come forward and address the council?
Thank you. Appreciate it, council. Thank you for letting me address you. My name is John Garrett. I live at 321 West Jefferson. About a year and a half ago, my wife and I purchased a lot in West Jefferson to build a new home. To aid in our decision, factors of consideration were old historic homes, large lots, mature trees, no impact fees. Half the tap fees were paid for by the city, and the water and sewer rates were capped. Which brings me to my reason for addressing you tonight. The subject, the newest water rate increases effective October the 1st, 2013. After 18 months, my wife and I are exposed once again to a tertiary rate increase from when we accepted our lot acquisition and the construction of our home. From what I've researched, it appears to put us within the top tier of Texas. And to add salt to the wound, we've been engaged to increase this last month's this last month's increase to capture last month's billing. And without notice, there's no way that we could have been. We can't be prepared for it. I could have shut our sprinkler system off if I'd known it was coming with this kind of exorbitant increase. Are we a city that's that deep in arrears? Or if there's a management problem that we can't afford some kind of preparatory notice at times so that we can budget for this horrific expense, this increase. Some people are unemployed, some are on, welfare, some are on fixed incomes, Medicare, some are retired, some just don't have the disposable income. But this majority decision is creating a hardship to many, I'm sure, and it's doing it right now. I performed several city comparisons that all have debt and all have volumetric rates and billing. And for sampling, I used my current Van Alstyne utility bill of $396.83 on a little half-acre or third-acre lot. I checked Van Alstyne, we've got $396. Melissa was $425. Sherman was $227. I'm doing the same exact rate. Allen was $256. With the exception of Melissa, two of these cities are 15 and 34 times the size of our town. They all have debt, yet they're all half 50% less for the same amount of volume of water. I feel like that's a problem. We need to fix it. It needs to be sooner than ever.
Mr. Gary?
Yes, ma'am, I'm up.
You're up.
Oh, sorry about that. I guess I got to rambling.
That's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you listening. Thank you.
The next is, and I hope I get this right, Heidi Bovers. You got it. Did I get it?
I've never spoken to you in all my 56 years of life, and I'm nervous. But I do not understand why we got no notice, and our bill was $113 to $285. We've been out of work for almost 18 months, but by the grace of God, we're managing, having some small jobs until we get a permanent one. And I don't understand why or how they expect us to put this much money into a full basket that we've got like other people do. And I'd like to know why it has hit us with no, when I saw the bill, I thought, this is 3 months, I was totally confused. And I called, because I paid my water bill over the phone, so I don't have to use a stamp. And it said, I said, if you have any complaints, and they said, yes. And I just feel like this is a small community. We're supposed to pull together and help one another. And for the price like this to go like that, it's just a fast, it's just, I'm speechless. I'm speechless. I cannot believe that this is allowed, and I feel like we should not have to pay this payment that we are incurring this month. And that's all I got to say, and may God keep us strong in our faith, and God bless America.
Thank you. Next we have Al Rodriguez.
Hello, everyone. Appreciate your service and serving on the council. My name is Al Rodriguez. I live at 798 Ballard Road in Alstyne, and I'm here primarily because, I was shot. And so my water bill was $441. So I can recall that the council approved something back in the previous meeting that I was here, and I heard that someone put forth a suggestion for an increase in water rates, and it was approved. And so, and then of course, I've been trying to consider the fact that we've had probably one of the worst years for the lack of rain we've had for a long time. But it's just, this is twice my electric bill. And so it's pretty severe for us. And I'm here primarily to ask a question. One of the reasons that I recall the last meeting, not the last meeting I attended, where this was brought up and the council voted to increase the rate. One of the reasons was because of the infrastructure, around the city was pretty bad. And, the pipes and so forth are old, and we were needing to repair a lot of that. So that, as I recall, that was the reason for getting an increase in the water rate. But, as I pointed out to you, it's pretty severe for us. And, I'd like to hear, what construction or repairs maybe have been done as a result of this increased rate, increased income to the city. If y'all would explain it to us, I'd appreciate it. We appreciate you listening to us. Thank you.
William McKeeman.
I appreciate all of your time and giving me the opportunity to speak. I guess I'm going to reiterate what you've heard a few times already, and I guess I just want to, I want to address some things that I thought to be true, and make you aware of what I believe to be true, and that was conversations had with a couple on the council that the number of 7% for an increase was thrown out there. And I think most of us could probably live with a 7% increase. If you look at what actually the increase that took place from a base rate, the minimum charge, it was a 25.75% increase. If you look at the next step up, the next tier up to the 10,000 gallon use level, it was a 51% increase. And if you look at the heavy users at the 20,000 gallon rate or above, it's an 88% increase. To me, that's ridiculous. To consider that we could sustain any type of growth in this town, increasing utility rates to that level. The second thing that I'd like to address the council with is the way the ordinance was presented to the city and the way it was built. In reading through the minutes and the ordinance, it said the ordinance was to take effect, and I believe it's in section 6, and it says the effective date, this ordinance shall become effective from and after its adoption. And it was adopted on September, I believe it was September 27th, if I'm correct. I may not be correct. But the bill is billing me for water that I used to September 17th. So that's like the butcher raising the price of my steak after I ate it. And that's just not right. So that needs to be looked into, in my opinion, as to how that increase came about and the notification for the increase. Thank you.
We have some other comments, but that is all of the comments that we have in regard to the water bill. And at this time, our Director of Public Works, Steve White, has a comment he would like to make.
Good evening, my name is Steve White, I'm Director of Public Works. I want to thank you for coming tonight for the voice concerned about the water and sewer rates. This increase is the water and sewer fund only. No monies will go into general funds for public purchases such as fire trucks, police cars, or ambulances. All this money is for infrastructure repair and operational costs, maintenance of water and sewer system. Available water in Texas has become a commodity with all shortages and restrictions in other cities in Texas. There's also several cities south of Van Alstyne. The water's costing more and more to produce and process. Just in the last year, the city of Van Alstyne was hit with a water user fee from Red River Conservation Board for the water that we take out of the ground. We have to pay for this water monthly. This wasn't the case 2 years ago. The city isn't trying to place a burden upon the backs of the citizens with this rate increase. I don't like paying high water cost bills, but I do too. There's 3 cities in our quarter, in Van Alstyne, Melissa, and Anna, whose rates are still higher than the city of Van Alstyne's new rates increase. The city of Van Alstyne had a water audit from the consultant that was paid by Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. At their suggestion, there was a rate increase presented to the city council for their consideration and adoption of the rate increase. That will be used to pay for the operation and repairs and maintenance of the system. There was 2 rate increase work sessions where the rate increase was discussed in August and every week in September until adoption, September 23rd. Last year, the city auditor suggested the city build a depreciation fund. This fund was to made for the city to have monies freely to do repairs without having to borrow the money. In the city water system, just this last month, the city suffered several major water losses from major breaks. Total loss of water just in September alone was 866,000 gallons, with the cost of material for those repairs of $12,000, and not including the labor for the repairs. All these repairs were done after hours. The infrastructure, water system, and sewer system have suffered from neglect over the last several years, and showing the results being the neglect. For those who have rate increases due to high irrigation costs in the cities that are south of Van Alstyne, there are restrictions of either no water for irrigation, or 2 days a week, or even odd days. We're blessed in the city of Van Alstyne at this time we're not being restricted. If you have a water bill of 40 to 60,000 gallons in comparison from irrigation, that would equal 2 swimming pools of 22,000 gallons. The point is, your water and sewer system to be maintained in good operation and working condition with available water at the cost. There's always a cost. This rate increase is only for water and sewer fund. None of the money will go into the general fund. And all this money goes into infrastructure repairs and operational costs and maintenance of water and sewer. I'll be happy to sit down with anybody and discuss it in later times if I wish to talk about the infrastructure of water and sewer. It's just, I want to thank you for that.
Next request, Pat Patterson.
My name is Pat Patterson, and I served where you guys are 9 terms, and I've been off now, I guess, about 12 years. And in the history of Van Alstyne, I don't think that I've ever, I went to see Jennifer the other day about something, and I don't think I've ever heard of a mayor not having an office in City Hall. And I don't know what you guys are thinking about or whatever, but she don't even have a key. And I don't understand why we gotta have a combination door on there. I mean, we not no big bank or no Federal Reserve or nothing like that. I mean, why do you spend that kind of money on a door you gotta push buttons to open? And I just can't foresee a mayor not having an office in City Hall. I mean, and I know for a fact that Mike, I don't know about Kim, but I know that Mike, the one that was before Kim, he had an office up there, and everybody that's been married had an office and had a key to City Hall. And how does the mayor, if she had to meet with somebody, how does she meet with somebody without an office? How does she get into City Hall without a key? And all of you people, well, not the city council, but the people that I guess are here enough to have a key, is paid employees. I mean, we're the citizens, we're the people. And I think the mayor ought to have access to office and a key in City Hall. Thank you.
Next, we have Vicki Cupid.
I'm Vicki Cupid, and I am currently the secretary for the Van Alstyne Parks Board. And according to some local real estate agents, parks and recreational facilities are one of the first things that newcomers to a town or a city ask about. Being able to refer to our parks is a pride of our town and is a great way to encourage and promote the area. The Parks Board is asking for the approval of 2 more board members, bringing the current board to a total of 7 members. We are all volunteers on this board and would like the chance to bring on 2 more people who have volunteered their time to improving our community. The additional 2 members would help to alleviate the necessity to postpone meetings like we did last winter. There was a major flu outbreak, and 3 of our mothers had children out with flu over a period of 3 months. So at one time, we did not have a Parks Board meeting from November till almost March because of illnesses. The 2 additional members would also bring more ideas and make more citizens aware of the need for continued improvements and maintenance for all of our parks. The additional input and skills they would bring to the meetings would be a positive growth for our city. All of the current Parks Board members would like to ask the council to consider passing this request. Thank you.
And she was referring to item number 9 on our agenda. Number 3, we have incomplete hearings. Consider and take action regarding passage of an ordinance as it relates to a request by the owner agent of the property situated in the city of Van Alstyne, County of Grayson, State of Texas, being described as OTP Van Alstyne Edition Block 36, Lot 1, 2, and 1/2 is 3. Most commonly known as 130 North Waco Street, to change the current zoning from C1, Commercial District Office Light Retail and Neighborhood Services, to the Central Business District. For those of you who are not familiar with this location, it is due west of the post office across Highway 5. Are there any questions regarding this? Councilman Blake? No. Councilman Moore? And extra questions? Any questions regarding this, Councilman Jennings? Any questions?
Is this just for the lots where the house is located, or is this the entire lot?
This is just for where the house is located.
Or that's what the operating location is?
I have no questions. Then I declare the public hearing. Are there any other questions? I declare this closed. Number 4, approval of minutes from the September 10th, 2013 regular meeting, the September 10th, 2013 zoning board of adjustments meeting, the September 9th and 23rd of 2013 work session meeting, and the September the 9th, 23rd, 27th, and 30th, 2013 special call meeting. Are there any questions regarding these minutes? Councilwoman Farmer?
I have a few comments, things that I find as I skimmed them. If we take a look at the one on September 10th, Tuesday, September 10th, the minutes, in item 15, and toward the bottom, it says, Karen Toiber expressed favor for tabling the item and starting from square one, as what is presented does not work of the community, and I think it should be for the community. Then further on, item 16, same one, yeah. Item 16 of that same set of minutes, it talks about Russell Moore expressed a desire to disallow double fencing that does not allow for property maintenance property between fences. And I'm wondering if property is in there twice and should not be, or if there should be another word that's in there.
Sounds to me like property is in there twice.
Okay. Then, should I continue on?
Yes.
Okay. Monday, September 9th, the special session, where it talks about, Karen Toiber suggested a freeze or at most a 1% increase, and that should be followed by for performance, 1% increase for performance. And that was all on that particular set of minutes.
And what number was that?
2, item 2 of the agenda. On the one September 9th, the City Council work session meeting, and item 6, it talks about Jim's second line, Jim Smith asked for details. There should be an S on that regarding the cost of, and then down in that same item 6, it talks about the North Texas Municipal Water District, which takes, instead of form, shouldn't that be from Lake Levon? And then when we get to Friday, September 7th, we talk about item 7, and this is line 4 of item 7, the need to consider privatization and opposition to the proposed, a D on the end, past tense, proposed budget. Then Monday, September 30th, item 5, the third line, and the options available to the council regarding filling the position. Russell Moore made a motion to accept the letter of resignation, and that motion was with all the qualifying items presented in the letter. That's the motion that failed due to lack of a second, because the second motion then was to accept the resignation of John Jennings. And those are my comments regarding the minutes.
Councilman Jennings. Councilman Bowen. Councilman Clay.
Friday, September 27th, 6:30 PM, number 7.
Number 7,
Number
okay.
7. It has Russell Moore making a motion and Russell Moore seconding the motion.
Can't do that, can you?
Should have done that, so. I don't know who did that, but.
September the 27th. I have that marked in my minutes and I'm generating in my hour today.
I apologize, I didn't note who seconded it. I had that Russell made the motion, and then all were in favor, with the exception of Ms. Horner.
Okay, is there a motion that we correct the minutes according to, with the corrections that have been stated? Is there a second? Is there any further discussion? Councilman White?
No.
Councilman Russell? Councilman Jennings? All of those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous, motion passed. Item 5, consider and take action regarding passage of an ordinance as it relates to a request by the owner agent of the property situated in the city of Van Alstyne, county of Grayson, state of Texas, being described as OTP Van Alstyne, addition block 36, lot 1, 2, and 1/2 of 3, most commonly known as 130 North Waco Street, to change the current zoning of C1 to Central Business District. Are there any further questions regarding this? Councilman Smith?
Well, the question is, with the whole issue with parking, rezoning your own lots allows you to use your own lots. But if rezoning just your lots doesn't allow you to use other parking places.
If you're part of the central business district, my understanding was that you have to have a number of lots on a number of parking spots.
You can use lots in the central business district. Yes, yes. But you will not be able to use the alley or the library park. Yes.
Not the library at all.
Because that was my suggestion, was that entire block be put into the central business district.
Well, each individual entity has to go and pay $125 to submit their request. So if the library did, and they became part of the central business district, they have to do it on their own, as every other business. That's why we
businesses, but I have seen city property used for a private gain. And it's not against you, it's against the fact that continue that practice in the city, allowing their property to be used for that. It's not a personal issue by any means.
And honestly, we don't feel that our patrons will park in the library because the entrance to where we're going to be coming in and out is on the south side,
Right.
not the north side. The only person that's going to park in the back, well, I would park in here, but we go hand in hand. That's the only traffic we should really have, and that's not.
Okay, you have any business?
Exactly. Yes, unfortunately, we have.
As long as you're nice to that property owner, you shouldn't have a problem. But it just needs to be stated clearly that it will not be you to enforce the private city.
And we can do our part as much as we can. Give people options.
Another block in Jefferson, go ahead. Makes it look like I have more business. It's fine. It doesn't bother me at all for anybody.
No comments. Councilman Bennett. Councilman Bennett.
Nope.
There are no other comments. Is there a motion? Jennifer, do you have
I just wanted to clarify.
something?
Yes, ma'am. We had a similar discussion at our last regular meeting regarding zoning half of a lot. So I would just ask that if you motion to approve the ordinance, that you exclude half of lot 3, so that the ordinance would rezone lots 1 and 2.
Thank you very much.
Whereas half to it.
Thank you. Is there a motion at this time?
I'll make a motion to approve the change in ordinance, change in zoning for lot 36, lot 1 and 2, commercial 1 to local businesses.
Is there a second? Both of us raise their hand. Russell can do it. I need a second. Is there any? And you've got plenty of seconds. So is there any further discussion? Councilman Clay? Councilman Russell? Councilman Jenkins? All of those in favor, please raise your hand.
Thank you very much.
Motion passed. Item 6, consider and take any action necessary regarding authorizing the mayor to sign a resolution declaring the Van Alstyne Leader the newspaper of record for the fiscal year 2014.
I'll make a motion to allow the mayor to sign the resolution.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Councilman Clay?
No.
Councilman Moore?
No.
Councilman Jennings? All of those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. The Van Alstyne Leader is our newspaper of record. We have been requested to move item 16 up for the Grayson Central Appraisal District Board. Item 16 is consider and vote on nominees for the Grayson Central Appraisal District. And we have tonight Sean Coker here, who would like to speak to us regarding that.
If it's okay with you, I want to hand out an overview of the board of directors here. I tried to consolidate the duties of the Appraisal District Board of Directors as much as I could for y'all. I know this is something where y'all have to make a nomination and ultimately vote by December the 15th. But I wanted to consolidate so that y'all will know what their duties are, what their responsibilities and their limitations are. I won't read all of this, but I'll let you know that the Board of Directors of an Appraisal District is composed of 5 members serving 2-year terms. As of right now, all 5 of the positions are available. And that, excuse me, that comes up every odd year. Y'all will have to make a vote, and then they'll start serving in the even number year, of course, 2014. The tax assessor collector, I'm sure y'all know Mr. Bruce Stidham, is a non-voting ex officio member, much like on many other boards. In order to be eligible, a candidate must have resided in the county for at least 2 years. It cannot be an employee of a taxing unit. There are some provisions where they could. They cannot owe delinquent property taxes, which would disqualify them from serving. And a person is ineligible to serve on a board if an individual is related within the 2nd degree of consanguinity or affinity to an appraiser with the appraisal district. A person that represents property owners, otherwise known as a property tax agent, or sometimes an attorney will represent. Individual is not eligible to be appointed to serve on the board of directors if the individual has a substantial interest in a business entity that is party to a contract, or the individual is a party to the contract with the county. Just some of the primary duties that a board of directors has to do is they have to establish an appraisal district within its jurisdiction. For most appraisal districts in Texas, each county has its own appraisal district, with the exception of Potter Rander up where Amarillo is. They consolidate two counties. They have to hire a chief appraiser. They have to adopt the annual budget. Some other things that may be important, they do have to biannually develop a written reappraisal plan. And we have to appoint some financial auditors. It has to be done as well, much like y'all do. Some important things to note, obviously y'all are aware of the Open Meetings Act. This is a little more stringent in the appraisal district world. Anyone that's appointed to the appraisal district board of directors cannot communicate with the chief appraiser or any of my licensed staff about a particular property. This will be a Class C misdemeanor. This is for obvious reasons. We don't want any of the board of directors influencing the decisions of the appraisal district. This is going to be the same for the appraisal review board members, which is a separate entity. Y'all do have to nominate someone by October 15th. It's not mandatory that you do this, but if y'all want to ultimately have a say-so in my board of directors, then you will have to end up voting by December 15th. So it's not necessary that you nominate someone now, but you should vote. Y'all have 35 votes out of 5,000. What we'll generally see is boards will get together and they may visit with other entities. Like, for instance, y'all could visit with Van Alstyne ISD and say, hey, which way are y'all going to vote? You could toss your votes towards the candidate that y'all agree on. Get some more substantial weighting in the overall. There's only 2 jurisdictions within Grayson that can appoint someone because they have the number of votes. That's obviously Sherman ISD and the county. So if they want someone on the board, they're going to have the 834 votes that would constitute a majority, at least, if they're going to get someone on. So, but y'all can commingle your votes with other folks if you do talk with them. What we usually see is a lot of the smaller school jurisdictions, since they don't get very many votes, they all get together during their monthly meeting, and they'll say, here's who we want to be on the appraisal district to kind of represent us and look over, the affairs. So, keep that in mind. Once the nominees are chosen, then I will develop a ballot, and I will notify each taxing unit before October 30th. Then y'all ultimately will have until before December the 15th to ultimately cast your votes and get them to me. Again, the city of Van Alstyne has 35 votes. Our current board, I will tell you, is absolutely phenomenal. We have Norman Gordon, who has served on the board for, I would say, approximately 3 or 4 terms. He is our current chairman. He's a realtor with Virginia Cook. He's out of Denison. Al Zari is our board secretary. He's owner of Motor Masters in Sherman. He also served on the Sherman ISD board for many years. We have Charlie Williams, who is a retired Van Alstyne ISD superintendent. He, of course, is from Van Alstyne. We have Mr. Brett Graham, owner of Graham International. He's from Pottsboro ISD. And Lynn Mitchison, he's a retired teacher and incidentally a former president district appraiser from many years ago. So we have a nice mix of folks on here. I'll tell you, as a chief appraiser, I've been very pleased with our board. They keep me in line, of course, but they're very knowledgeable, specifically Charlie Williams, Van Alstyne, being former superintendent. That helps me having a superintendent on the board to kind of get the perspective from an ISD standpoint. So, you know, as far as policy goes, things of that nature. So, the only one that has not been nominated yet would be Norman Gordon. In the past, he's been nominated by the school district of Denison and Pottsboro, and I believe they've nominated Tom Akins, who's the former city attorney. I've not met him, spoke to him on the phone, but I feel sure that Norman will get nominated. But y'all have any other questions I can answer?
Yes, has Charles Williams already been nominated?
Yes, ma'am, by the Van Alstyne ISD.
And his council could renominate?
Yes, ma'am.
There are 5 appointments, so these
Yes,
are
sir.
5 terms.
Correct.
Councilman Clay, do you have any questions regarding this?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Moore? No. Councilman Jennings?
Only, I guess, it's Mr. Williams' expressed interest in serving.
Yeah, begrudgingly. I pulled his legs. No, I'm kidding. No, he's retired, but yeah, he didn't like that I have a meeting every month. But no, he has. He's been phenomenal. Yes.
Councilman Smith? Are there term limits on this?
They serve 2-year terms, and so every odd number year, y'all get this opportunity to review.
But can they be terms limited out?
No, ma'am, that's only the appraisal review board. Appraisal review board, you can only serve 3 up to 2-year terms.
And we have to vote by, you said October 15th?
Well, I have to have y'all's resolution before October 15th.
Or?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But if y'all do not nominate again, it doesn't prohibit y'all from voting later. So,
Do we have a motion for a nomination at this time?
I'll make a motion for Charlie Williams. Just because I don't like you.
Is there a second?
Keep him on.
Any further discussion? All of those in favor of Charles Williams, vote for the resolution, please raise your hand. It is unanimous, motion passed. Charles Williams.
thank y'all for your time. Nice to meet you, ma'am.
Thank you. Number 7, consider and take any action necessary regarding approval of an ordinance to abandon an alleyway adjacent to 524 South Main Street. This is item number 7. Is there anyone here to make comments regarding this? Somebody know where
I
it's-
can speak to it.
Yes.
This is just the ordinance that formally passes the abandonment of the alleyway that was discussed at the regular September meeting.
The same.
Yeah, the same alleyway, just the passage of the ordinance that formally abandons.
Then at this time, is there a motion that we do so? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
The area that will still be a right of way, that will be landlocked. Do we have somebody that will take care of that section of land? That somebody can get to it? Is people who are next to it going to maintain it, or?
I believe we have an ordinance in place that requires the adjacent landowners to maintain the right of way.
Okay. That's all.
No further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous, motion passed. take any action necessary regarding approval of a site plan for the property being described as Hines West Side Division, Section 3, replat, Lot 2, Block 1, Lot 3, acres 1.512. This is number 8 on your agenda. We have some representatives here. Golden check. Oh, good, thanks. I didn't put that all out. We have the representative here for a site plan review for Golden Chick. Welcome to the presentation. And we're looking forward to the presentation.
My name is Kevin Mayer, 109 Oakland Street, Denton, Texas. We are the consulting engineering group that worked on this. I'd like to thank you for having us here tonight. Very straightforward. We have put together a couple of illustrations. What you see before you is a rendition of the site plan that was submitted to Land Court to P&Z and approved last week. It was approved with conditions that we meet the requirements from the city engineer, and we have addressed all of those, we believe. We brought some updated drawings to submit to him for review if he'd like to. But this is the layout of what the property will look like in terms of the traffic flow through the building and how the site will lay out. The goal of this is to try to tie in with the existing bronze development with the connecting drive, and then to put a crossing over to the TxDOT right of way. We have obtained a TxDOT driveway permit already, and they have reviewed the plans and agreed to. As far as placement of signs and anything else, they've also agreed to all of those conditions as well. The end product will look something similar to this. This is almost an exact copy of what the new plan or what this building will look like in terms of its public display with the portico and the type of construction we're looking to utilize for this building. So with that in mind, we're free to help answer any questions.
So we'll have an outdoor eating room?
Yes,
So this would connect the bronze?
yes, ma'am. There will be a connecting driveway. The lot itself, we are required to have an entrance and an exit, so we'll have a crossing that will connect to the TxDOT frontage road, and the driveway will connect to the existing bronze parking.
There's a creek that goes through there.
Yes, the bronze sits over here. This is an unplatted lot, which will remain undeveloped. This connecting drive will connect to the bronze parking lot, and then we actually have a crossing in between the creek itself. Yes, ma'am.
I was in with Brown's design, but you know, they use what's the street? Marshall. They use Marshall Street as their connection to that. They didn't go out and right away. What they are proposing is a arched culvert covering their drive and it will tie into the frontage road. And we've got the TxDOT permission to do that.
So will this go from bronze to connecting?
No, ma'am. This, based on the position of where at this end of the property, there are too many guide wires and too many power poles, which would conflict with our roadway and how to cross the point. So we approached TxDOT and they said this was the optimal placement for a driveway. creek itself does come down in case of a turn.
Does the width of that connected drive be requirement? Yes, it is. It's their law. What about what is on it? Yes, yes, it does do that.
So you would have two driveways, one of them goes to the frontage road,
Correct.
and the other one goes through a mom's parking lot.
Correct. That drive, if you were to go out to the Brahms restaurant today, you would see an open cut in the drive, into the current driveway, or the current curb. That was intended to connect across this property. So all we're doing now is tying into the existing pavement that's already has a curb.
And that's the pavement that goes.
Actually, Brahms, in the negotiations with Brahms on property, was required that we put that in and actually put it across the front of the text on property.
And where's the fire hydrant? Yeah. Yeah, they're having to go up to the adjacent residential lots, connecting the water line there, bring it down to that spot. What is the requirement for code to do?
Yes, ma'am. Correct. There is a primary drive-through that comes around the back of the building, and then we did put in a bypass lane. Correct. And we had revised the landscape plan so that we could include a little bit better, better coverage in front of the existing fence. No, we sought a variance for constructing masonry or fence, and we asked for the presence of the landscaping itself. So we coordinated with the landscape architect and have revised this to incorporate these things.
That variance will be coming forward to you your next month for the landscape. Screening, remove of the screening wall or fence. Well, the ordinance says an opaque fence or wood screen or masonry screen. You get into the existing residents have that fence there already, so you're going to get into that double fence issue that you discussed last month. So their proposal is to ask for a landscape variance, for a landscape requirement. So that's what you'll see next month.
Actually, one of the concerns we had is that all along the backside of this property, probably a water line, a sewer line, and a couple fiber optics, there's an enormous amount of utilities behind it. And the thought was that if we would have to put a double fence, there was never an issue that required logistic problems. So the presence of a landscape screen would be easier to access. Yes, we're bringing in the sewer line and dropping it on manhole. Yes.
Will the property owners have any input on this? I don't want to house
It's compliant with the current zoning laws, so in that case.
so property owners will have
I mean, well, for the landscape variance, they will, yes, definitely, they'll be notified. Adjacent property, and notification required for adjacent properties. So
we're not going to generate an issue with all that line of property owners that
they don't want to see a landscape screen, they want a masonry fence, you may. Never talked to any of the property owners.
I'm sorry.
No problem with that. This is good
behooves the operator of this restaurant to keep clean for this building.
You'll maintain the ditch in front?
Yes.
Like Ron said now?
Yes.
And space behind the building or around the north field?
Whatever is within the boundaries of their property, they will.
What hours is it? The typical hours are 10:30 in the morning, so they'll start, and then they go to 10 o'clock at night.
How many jobs?
I'm sorry?
How many jobs?
They're expecting to have 20 employees there, and that's pretty typical for that size of a store. So that represents probably a salary impact of $350,000. And then probably looking at another $100,000 in terms of sales tax and property tax and other taxes that will be paid.
I know this was on the site. What about, what's the city's participation in solving the water throughout this system? The building, Veritas will do that for compliance. Again, this is 100% right. Yes,
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions at this time? Mike? Councilman Miller? Councilman Bennett?
I did have one, I'm sorry, I did have one other question. When
Okay.
he'll be doing this?
Probably, assuming we can get the entitlements here, I mean, they're ready to start construction as soon as we get our final permits and approvals.
How long does that usually take?
Yeah, 30, 40 minutes more to get that done, and then it'll take, about 60, 90 days to get done.
Okay, so sometime after first quarter.
First quarter, yeah.
Okay.
This is for consideration and any action necessary regarding approval of the site plan. Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to being a part of the community. Thank you
We
so
look
much.
forward to having you. Thank you.
We asked our engineer, the only, we approved them to build the building.
Yes.
The approval or disapproval of the neighbors will not have an effect on whether the building can be built or not. It's their concern will be the type of area.
Type of area.
So that's the only variable we have left, the type of area. Citizens of the neighbors.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Number 9, discussion regarding a request by the Parks and Recreation Board to add 2 positions to the board. And we have spoken in regard to this, and then they have 5, and now they wish to expand that to 7. Is there any discussion regarding this, Councilman Jennings?
I just, you should not have nominations tonight, you just look for the expand.
That's right, they just want to add to it. Councilman Moore? Councilman Clay?
No.
Councilman Smith?
But here, your board is full right now at 5, right? Are there any members on that board that are more or less holdovers that should have been gone or term limits or anything?
No,
Okay.
but, well, Bill Cannon, but Bill Cannon serves more than an advisor. He still has, his term is expired, so we would need to
Okay. It was my thought that Bill Benton was a holdover, and that if we have two people who are willing and anxious, that one of those D, that, is there really a need for 7 people on the board? I just, most other boards operate with 5 people. And if we have 5 active people, I don't see a need for increasing the size of the board.
Okay, are there any further comments? Okay, this is listed as a discussion regarding a request. So, until something is wrong, so we have to change the.
Yes, ma'am. If the council would like to provide direction, if you would like to move toward amending the ordinance to allow for 7 members, then we just need to know the feeling of the council so that we can bring that ordinance back to you.
So, for amending the ordinance, but yet it would still have to come back to the council for final approval as to whether there were 5 or 7.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion. Yeah, she just said.
You can make a motion that the Parks Board amend their ordinance for 7. Is that number? Then you can make, just make a comment.
Okay, my comment is that we not amend the ordinance, but that we get 5 active people.
What is your comment?
I'd like to see the applications come to the store, identifying 3 new members that we would like to have on the board.
Councilman Jennings.
I would like to see, how often do you meet once a month? Could you bring some documentation as to how many times you've had difficulty in having quorum, so you can actually hold meetings? Let's look at that.
Councilman Moore.
I do not have a problem with the request.
I'm in favor of them being able to have 7 members.
Item 10. Consider and take any action necessary regarding a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign an interlocal agreement for the sale of 17.655, 166.6 K gallons of minimum take or pay water capacity in the amount of $18,797.30 to the city of Melissa. Councilman Flake, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Regarding this? Councilman Moore? Councilman Jennings?
This was unbudgeted or revenue, and it's currently the budget we just passed. Where would this revenue, would this go into our water and the water, and the water revenue has additional revenue for fiscal 14, which we're currently
Did Melissa buy water for us last year?
Yes.
On this, about this amount?
Who's right, Mr.?
That is reflected in the budget of last year's budget. How many millions of gallons is that, Steve? How many millions of gallons? I don't understand the K, and I don't deal with numbers that big.
I think they had 17 million.
Okay.
A little over 17 million. A little over 17 and a half million. 17 million, 65.
Is that 17 million gallons?
65.
The way it's written, it's 17 billion. I don't know. know that we did 17 million gallons, but that's the way it's written. K means multiply times the time.
Close to $1.70 gallons.
We're talking about 1,000-gallon increments. We have some parentheses, or it's moving decimal point.
Still 17 million gallons.
Yes, sir. 17 million gallons, 1.6. 17,655, 166.6. But for them to calculate what the fee, what the rate, figure rate would be, they give it parentheses what it would build as. 17,655, 166, 1,000 gallon increments.
But this is a renewal of a payment we had in the past.
Melissa took last year, Melissa's year before, Melissa's taking this.
Back when Denny Wheat was here, I went to, the only water meeting I ever went to was when we talked about this and got them to commit to go, figure out we could receive money since us, Anna, Hal were not taking anything, just Melissa was taking water out of the system. And they used more than what their allotment was, so they had to pay us for, what was it?
This is actually the amount that's paid to all three towns.
Yes, same amount was paid to all of our employees.
So each town gets 18.
Well, but Melissa's the one that's overusing the water. Now, I don't know this year whether Anna
Anna
overused.
and Melissa.
Did Anna overuse their water this year? They may have.
Anna is also taking.
We probably need to check in and see whether or not they're overusing their water. If they are,
They haven't gone
they would owe
over.
us a
Yeah.
how.
No, I have no questions.
Anything else? Okay, is there a motion regarding this?
Motion to authorize the city manager to sign the agreement.
Is there a second?
I'll say.
Is there any further discussion? Anyone?
Is there any place other than the water department that this money could go? It can only go to the water department.
Do a transfer if you want to put it in another fund, but it should be in water revenue.
But it's going to water revenue.
Seconded. Okay, all of those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passed. 11, consider and take any action necessary regarding authorizing the mayor to sign the fiscal year 2013 audit engagement letter with La Follette Company, PLLC. Are there any questions regarding this?
No, ma'am?
Council chosen.
Beg pardon?
How was this company chosen?
We sent out the bid last year, sir, and the following company was the only company that returned the bid. Susan will volunteer if you have some questions for her.
Councilman Jennings, do you have any questions? Councilman Smith? Councilwoman Conrad?
Yeah, just the comment about the retainer fee of $4,000. Did we do that, pay that last year as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Any questions?
No other questions.
If no questions, is there,
I'll make the motion that we authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
is there a second?
Second.
Oh, any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you, Mr. Fowler. regulations of double fencing and fencing standards. And this is something that's been on the agenda before. And this is a discussion regarding this. Summary of this is that D.R. Horton has changed their policy of tying into pre-existing fencing at the property line borders. This is due to a lawsuit brought against D.R. Horton in another community. Unless disallowed by ordinance, double fencing practice can continue. The background information on this is allowing double fencing creates an inaccessible space between properties where weeds and trash may accumulate. This creates a habitat for insects and rodents to thrive. It can also create a fire hazard. There are arguments for and against on this with maintenance, also and the type of fencing there is. This is a discussion item. Councilman Blake?
Since I live in that neighborhood, and since they're gonna probably build one of those double fences next to my house, I'm totally in favor of coming up with some rules and regulations, even doing that. I went around and looked at a few of the houses that they've done it on, and it does not look very good, as well as it does leave an area that's not maintainable by either one, without doing something like Roundup, and then you're gonna probably kill part of the yard of either one of the yards as well, so. I definitely think we need to come up with an ordinance to stop it.
Is this already being done in Georgetown?
Yeah, they've already built some fences like that. But there's no 100% pattern to it, because I found some people who don't have the double fencing that were next to over houses as well. So I don't know exactly
So
how they
there's not
decided
a
which one.
regulation in that
No,
area?
there's nothing in requirement of Georgetown Edition or in their HOA or anything else that says you gotta do that. In fact, it says you'll share a fence.
Councilman Moore?
I would be in favor of an ordinance to eliminate double fencing. I mean, it's a maintenance problem.
Councilman
The same opinion.
Is there any question about fence maintenance, if there's only a single fence?
Is there what?
Fence maintenance?
As to who it,
Yeah, who keeps it up? You
Well,
have one side that can be red and the other side can be green?
Yeah, that's true. But, and the theory is that two of them will, if the fence had to be rebuilt again, then they would try to, I would assume they would try to negotiate a deal to share the cost of it. It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes one person will end up paying for the whole fence. So there's no regulations that control it, other than you do share it.
And the HOA has no regulations pertaining to
It does
this?
have regulations, what kind of fence you can have, and what size of fence you can have, and whether it can be stained or not, I mean, not stained, but that kind of stuff. But that's all.
Has this ever been an issue in any other place besides Georgetown?
It must have. I mean, I've understood that, I think McKinney and some towns have passed laws.
In Van Alstyne.
Oh, in Van Alstyne?
my knowledge.
No.
I would, to go back some, whether or not we determine to allow it or not allow it, either way, I think it needs to be addressed in order, because if we do to allow it, there should be enough room. It may be 4 foot, and in essence, property owners are 2 foot of their property that they have paid for, which is in the backyard, so it's an issue either way. Preferably, I feel that the civil fence should share these logical.
No other questions or comments?
Who actually owns most property owners have on half of it? Is it whoever put it up first owns it?
I don't
The
know.
fence? I'm sure it's supposed to be equally owned by both of them, because it's on the, it's put on the property line.
If they put a fence up and then years later, as we're experiencing, somebody else built a house across from that fence, then does that automatically become half owned by the new property owner, or does it?
Yeah.
It's my understanding if it is directly on the property line, but if it is so many feet inside the property line, it is. That is what I have always understood.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, and sometimes, you'll see sometimes in closing documents, disclaimers about fences, just advising people buying houses that the fence may not be exactly on the property line due to a slope or an easement or a utility or something causing it to have to move a couple inches either way, that it's still the common fence. But how each builder does their documents is up to them, but that's not an uncommon thing to see. It's just an advisory, it's a common fence, but it may not be exactly on the property line.
So at closing, it advises in that.
I don't know if D.R. Horton's closing documents address it or not.
Can the council draft an ordinance that will solve every problem that will ever show up?
I wish, probably not, no.
Can you?
We don't have that crystal ball.
Can you create a document that will most likely address current and future issues?
Hopefully so.
And make it retroactive to where they have to go back and fix the ones they've done so far.
That's true. We'll see how much we can do. That's a little
Okay.
more complicated.
Any further comments, Captain? Consider taking, it's just discussion regarding. Let's see, consider taking the action necessary regarding approval of amendments to the Van Alstyne Community Development Corporation bylaws. Anita, do you have? wish to say to council?
Good evening, City Councilman and Mayor. I'm here on behalf of the Van Alstyne Economic Community Development Corporation. I'm Camille Larkins, and I'm their admin assistant. At the beginning of the year, our board members reviewed the bylaws to determine if any changes needed to be made. And what you have in your packet is what they had agreed upon and voted upon. I came before you several months ago, but at that time, other amendments were being considered, so this was tabled. At our last board meeting, my board of directors asked that I come back to approach you about the amendments. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, okay. Mayor, is it all right if I ask my question? Yes. Okay. Okay, why is that whole section for being deleted? We don't need the Community Development Capital Improvement Program nor any of the review and update and the review.
When they were reviewing that, we looked through our files, and it was determined that there was never, ever a community development capital improvement program. Now, we come before City Council with our budget each year, but we've never had a CDCIP. So their concern was, well, if we're not doing it and it's in our bylaws, if we're not gonna do it, it needs to be removed.
Is there a governing directive like the EDC has where you have to have certain things in it? Does the CDC have that?
No, EDC does not.
This is
No.
CDC.
No, CDC does not. Just like EDC doesn't have a community development capital improvement program. Or in their case, it would be the economic development capital improvement program. The only thing that we might have that's similar is both corporations have a 3-year strategic plan.
Is that included in this? I just looked at the things that were deleted, so I don't know.
No, it's not in the bylaws. It's just something that has been done.
Okay, I guess my concern is planning and the fact that we should have community planning. And if there's no requirement for it, I think we're failing somewhere, and I think there needs to be something included in the bylaws that relate to planning and, having a vision for the town.
Dude, I brought copies of their 3-year strategic plan. Would you like to review those and see if that is something that you're agreeable to? Because like I said, they've never, some of these issues that are brought up in this particular segment, it's areas that we cover in our budget. When, at the beginning, prior to the fiscal year, when they come before you with the budget, and then you either disapprove or approve the budget.
Well, I guess I'm looking at B, where it says the board shall review and update once a year to ensure the plan is up to date with current community needs. And my question is there any place else in the bylaws that has this requirement that they do this?
It's not addressed in the bylaws, but like I said, we do have a 3-year strategic plan that does assess the community's needs.
And is there a requirement to do that strategic 3-year plan?
No, as far as the bylaws, no, but to make both corporations, more focused on what they need to do, that's why they have done the 3-year strategic plan. And they review it, like I'll review it at next month, or this month's meeting with the new members, so they know what's in our plan.
Yeah,
So
well,
it's a 3-year, but we review it every year to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, I think that the bylaws should require that then. If you're, replace this paragraph with something that says that it has to be, planning has to be done if we want to progress and if we want to attract businesses and residents to the community. There has to be some planning done.
And I agree. I mean, is that acceptable to maybe revise the amendment to include this 3-year strategic plan? Y'all have an opportunity to review the proposed amendment and to also review the 3-year strategic plan.
I agree with Councilwoman Ford, you're right. Article 4 specifically deals with the duties and requirements of the CDC. Whether you do it through the CDC IP, there needs to be a specific program that you're abiding by in the bylaws. So if you want to use the strategic plan, then your strategic plan has that initiative. That needs to be written into this. I would be agreeing to that.
It's necessary.
Well, it's the function of the...
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, the rest is fluff.
You're taking out the functions of the CDC by not having something in the bylaws. So it makes sense to put, if you're doing the strategic plan and following that on a yearly basis, that needs to be incorporated.
And there would be no reason. And everyone when it is the right one.
Well, the same thing, if you're gonna take out all of these requirements, you need to have something to come back in and replace it. If you don't wanna have CIP, and you think your 3-year strategic plan is a substitute for that, and create the wording to replace this with that. This is just taking out the whole responsibility of CDC. There's no review required, no accountability. You have, if you take something out that's massive as this, you need to have something to come in behind it.
Okay.
To replace it, not just eliminate this and then kind of go on down the road.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Rowe.
I'd agree. I mean, it's the function and duties and requirements. I mean, we're striking that whole thing out. And you kind of, somebody wants to see what your responsibilities are, or you have none. So I think it would be good to, whether you're striking out this particular plan, I agree with them, I think it'd be good to replace it with something, and maybe it is something y'all are currently working with, the 3-year strategic plan.
Councilman Clark.
Just knowing what kind of functions the CDC can spend its money on or can and be involved in, that's why I think they were trying to simplify what they were doing, because they really don't have I know you brought up the business function, helping new businesses come down. There is nothing in the CDC's that allows them to try to help get new businesses in town. It's not a part of their function. They can help with parks. They can help with recreational facilities. They can help with the museum and stuff like that. But other than above and beyond that, they shouldn't be involved in business. I know they've gotten involved in business before, mistakenly, because of believing they could go that direction. But I think the attorney has given us direction before when we were trying to fix City Hall or do library stuff, that they really didn't have the rights to do those things. So I think we need to go back and do a lot more research on what they are really allowed to do before we write rules and regulations. It's very hard to plan what you can do when you're restricted on what you can do, and they all are tied to Parks and Recreation Department in a way. That's sort of where your plans are. It's what do they plan and where are they going that makes us function.
Well, that's why I asked if there was a governing directive
Yeah.
that goes over this would not be required. But there has to be something that tells them what the board, what they can do, what they can't do, how to do it.
Yeah, I think it does there needs to be something written in this bylaws, a lot better description of what you can really spend your money on.
Exactly.
Because they've made a mistake in the past of spending money on things that, like all boards have, I think, that really didn't have the ability to, yes, ma'am.
If you'd like, I could get the board a list of things they're authorized to spend money on so that they could have that to review when they're going through this process.
That would be good.
Is there a motion at this time that this item be tabled and brought back at a later date?
I'll move that it be tabled. And run.
Second, we have any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Next we have, yes.
was the motion seconded by John?
Next, we have consider and take any action necessary regarding appointments to the Community Development Corporation Board. Janina, do you have any remarks regarding this?
No, y'all do have Mr. Rock's application, correct?
So we have, how many openings do we have?
We have 3.
3, okay, and 1 application?
Yes. So anybody willing to serve?
Run a recruiting campaign. Okay. How many board members are there in all?
7.
There is 7. Okay. Is there any questions regarding this or any questions for Mr. Walker? me see if is there any questions or
Are you
discussion?
Mark?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. The only thing I had was just that, I'm not saying you're not a good candidate for the, it looks like reading your resume, you're a great candidate for the EDC rather than CD. You do understand how it works and, okay. I just want to make sure you knew that we're involved
Starting off and
in,
working my way up.
we're involved in a whole different world out there than the other side is. Okay, good enough. I was on.
Well, some of the other boards, we've had people express their reasoning for it, even though, just to make a presentation. I'd like to hear your interest.
As mentioned, my name is Mark Rock. I live west of town on 516 Preakness. As y'all have noticed over the last 2 months, my wife and I have been here on several of the meetings to discuss our new business that we're opening up at 130 Waco. Also, since we've opened this business up, I decided, it's probably a good time for me to be more civically minded and try to get more involved in my community. And talking to Kanita, this was something I thought I'd like to go ahead and try getting into. This is my first time I volunteered for a board position, and it just seemed like something very interesting, and I'd like to go ahead and give this a shot. But I've been living in Van Alstyne for 16 years. I like to say I don't live here, I sleep here. I've usually been working down in Plano, so it's like to get a chance to get in here and meet more people and get more involved in the community. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? No further discussion.
I make a motion we appoint Mr. Rock to the Community Development Corporation.
Make a motion, is there a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. It's passed unanimous. Next is number 15. Consider and take any action necessary regarding approval of repayment of a loan to the Van Alstyne Economic Development Corporation from the Van Alstyne Community Development Corporation.
Thank you again. This time I'm here on behalf of the Economic Development Corporation. Last year, as a result of the Atmos gas line that went in, the city, EDC, CDC, and Grayson College split that cost. At that time, when the invoice came due, where CDC had the funds to do that, EDC had the funds, but had they used the $20,000, it would have brought their checking account balance down lower than $5,000. So in November 28th, the CDC voted that and approved a motion to loan the $20,000 to the EDC. So a promissory note was drawn up by an attorney, and it was signed. And payments started in January of 2012. And over the last 2 years, we've made payments to the CDC, and our balance that we owe them now is currently $13,226.13. We now have those funds to repay the Community Development Corporation back what we owe them, and we would like to do that with your permission, so that CDC can have their money back and to use on the projects that the CDC would like to use them for.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this? Councilman Jennings?
This was not in the budget that we just approved.
That is correct.
Did you have the funds at the time you submitted budget to council? Where did the funds become available there? Just 10 days after the start of the fiscal year?
It wasn't discussed until after that, hey, we want to pay back the loan. But we have the funds. It's in our checking account.
So this would be an expense not in the budget as presented.
That is correct.
Is it truly an expense, or is it just repayment? It's not a budgeted expense, it's just paying back money that's been paid. We budgeted for the interest.
We budgeted for the debt in a monthly. How is that being paid monthly?
Monthly.
So
We budgeted for the expense to it, and now we have the funds to do it. I mean, we're not altering the budget, just expediting it.
well, we budgeted for 12 equal payments.
Right.
Now we're budgeting for, or we're approving it. Yeah, it is an increased expense. We're relying on her to report to us that the funds are there and to remain soft.
So this is basically a budget move.
Yeah, it's an additional expense outside the approved budget for FY 15, yeah.
The loan is 2% interest, so that's another issue with savings and interest.
What was the original term for it? How many years was it?
I believe it was 5 years.
I have no issue paying it off. I just want to make sure I didn't understand why 10 days after the start of the year.
Okay. Any further questions, discussion? Councilman Ford? It was discussed at our last meeting and voted on that we do this to not have debt in the EDC, as it did not look good to owe money. Is there a motion at this time?
Motion we approve the repayment of the loan.
Second? Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous, motion passed. Thank you, Nina. Number 17, consider and take all action necessary regarding appointing a person to fill the vacancy on the City Council Place 3 resulting from John Jennings' resignation. Tonight we have 5 candidates. I'm going to allow each candidate to come forward and speak. Before I do so, though, I will be reading the directions from Julie Ford. Even though Mr. Jennings is a holdover, he may not make a motion to appoint any specific person or vote on such a motion. He may vote on motions related to procedure or calling a special election. If there is a 2-2 vote for a candidate, the vacancy on the City Council, Section 22.010A of the Local Government Code says that the mayor may vote to break the tie. It is entirely within the mayor's discretion as to whether to cast a tie-breaking vote or not. Section 22.010A says that a majority of the remaining members may fill the vacancy by appointment. There are 4 remaining council members. Thus, a person may not be appointed to the council unless there are 3 votes in favor of that person, since 3 is the majority of the remaining 4. If someone abstains and you only have a 2-1 vote, then you're not enough. Tonight we have 5 candidates who have signed for this. And you have the opportunity to come forward and speak to the council. First, we have Adam Wise. You have 3 minutes. 3 minutes, Mr. Wise.
All right. How y'all doing? A lot of you know, my name's Adam Wise. Tried to throw my hat in the ring to be appointed for this. You know, I agree with the citizens that come up here tonight, and I'm totally on board with their outcry. I believe that their water rate is way too expensive. And I also believe there's a lot of irresponsible with some of our council members voted for unnecessary things in the last budget when they should have been considering more of the needs of our citizens. And if you consider me, I'll vote in line with the citizens with their outcry tonight. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Kimberly Kelly. Ms. Kelly?
Mayor and Council, thank you. I just want to say that I've been interested in participating together with the citizens on the city council and representing them. I've been in the city about 3.5 years. I bring, I believe, a strong financial and fiscal background to the position. I believe that I can make good decisions for the individuals that live in this city. As I listen carefully to them, I formed good relationships with city staff and residences over the last 3.5 years, and I'd love you to consider me for the council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Wayne Cummings.
Mayor and City Council. My name is Wayne Cummings. I moved to Van Alstyne 20 years ago to accept a job as your first city administrator. After serving as administrator for 9 years, I accepted the position of Assistant City Manager and Finance Director for the City of Anna. Working in Anna and helping them grow from about 1,000 people to 8,500 population during my 8 years. I'm very aware of the challenges of a growing city. Although I work in Anna, I've continued to live in Van Alstyne, my home of choice. I retired in the city at the end of July of 2011 and now have time to volunteer for the city of Van Alstyne. Using my knowledge of 30 years of experience in city administration, I can help the city of Van Alstyne to move forward. Thank you.
Next, Robert Jaska.
Hello, I'm Robert Jaska. I know a lot of folks here, some I don't know. I've always believed in knowing and helping and serving and participating in my community. I've lived here for 6 years. I enjoy Van Alstyne. I love Van Alstyne. And I would like to do anything I can to help the city and serving on the council. To do that, I'd love to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Lewis Sr. Is Mr. Lewis here? We have one person who has signed up to speak in regard to this, and that's Judy Woman. Please come forward.
Thank you, Council, for hearing me. I wanted to speak in support of Kimberly Kelly for City Council. Kimberly is very well suited and most prepared for this position, as evidenced by her background, her past experience, and present involvement within the city. As many of you know, she ran this past mayoral election with a very close margin. She serves on the Economic Development Corporation's Board of Directors and attends frequent board meetings of other city nonprofits and assists where she can. She's attended every city council meeting since May of 2012, with the exception of 2 or 3. She makes it a priority to stay educated and up to speed on the inner workings of the city, and she has a great working relationship with many of the leaders in Van Alstyne, which is vital when you're trying to bring unity and move the city forward. On her one day off, Friday, she's frequently seen around town volunteering. She's worked with Meals on Wheels and the Kids Eat Free program this past summer, as well as helping with fall roll last year and this year, many school events and projects at the senior center. She's informed, interested, and active. She's dedicated and involved, and most of all, very professional in her decorum. It would be an honor to have her as a representative of this city, and I just appreciate your consideration of her. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, Councilman Talbot, do you have any questions concerning the county?
No, I have no questions.
Councilman Smith? Councilman Miller? Councilman Clark? At this time, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to accept Wayne Cummings' offer to serve as a city councilman.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? So,
They're abstaining.
are you abstaining? You're both abstaining? Okay. Is there another motion?
I make a motion, we appoint Robert Jasper as new city councilman. I believe that he's a person who has tried to support things in town, and I think he's a very fair person, and that he'll listen and make his decisions for the best of the community, and what he hears and what he understands.
Is there a second? Second call for a second. Third and final call. Motion dies for lack of a second. Is there another motion? Can he make a motion again? Yes?
I make a motion to accept Wayne Cummings' offer to be on the city council.
It's the same motion.
I thought he was gonna make a different motion, but
Can it?
you can make the same motion.
Okay. Is there a second? You have a motion and a second for Wayne Cummings. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstained? One abstained and two voted. So, Madam Attorney, you have to have three or a tie.
Yes, ma'am.
So there is neither one.
I make a motion that we go forward to the next election and allow whatever the way it is to say that, for at the next, it'll be decided to appoint someone at the next election.
The
Special.
The agenda is drafted, doesn't,
Hmm?
the agenda is drafted
Okay.
does not allow for that motion.
Okay.
Where do we go from there? Is there another motion?
I'll make a motion to accept Timberly Kelly to fill the appointment.
We have a motion for Kimberly Kelly. Is there a second for that?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Two. Opposed? I did the time. I'm opposed. Motion dies also. We are at an impasse at this time. We need advice from our legal counsel.
You could either do nothing, or you could give direction to staff to put calling a special election on the next agenda for the council to consider that.
Oh, you need to put it on the next agenda?
Yes.
Can I make a motion? Yes, we're still open for motions.
Okay. I'd like to move that we accept Adam Wise to the council.
We have a motion to accept Adam Wise. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Can it be tabled for 30 days? Can item number 17, I'm asking legal counsel, can this, since it does not allow for the other, can this be tabled for 30 days?
Somebody could move to table it to your next agenda, which would be about 30 days. If that
The
motion
next
passed,
regular
then yes.
council meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there a motion that this be moved?
I make a motion, we table it until the next council meeting, next regular council meeting, and that we have the people change it to allow for, I don't remember what you called it now.
Special election.
Special election.
Keep it this
And that
way,
they
but
also allow
add,
additional people to apply for the
Applicants.
position. So
okay.
that we come up with something that's
As
acceptable.
is, plus special election, plus allow more applicants.
Yes.
That is the motion. Is there a second? I have a set motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. This will be tabled until next month. It will be reworded to allow the two other items. We did have one other, before we go into executive session, we did have one other person who wished to make comments tonight. Al, would you please come forward?
Yes, my name's Al, and I'm trying to purchase the building I'm in. I'm leasing from EDC. I just want to let you know, I guess you guys are about to table the table.
We can't hear you.
Oh.
Speak up, please.
Sorry. My name is Al, and I'm buying the building I'm leasing from EDC. And I just want to let you know I'm here for any comments or any questions from me. I want for you to consider it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Al. At this time, the Van Alstyne City Council will go into executive session in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, Open Meetings Law. The City Council may meet in a closed executive session pursuant to applicable laws. Therefore, we will convene into executive session in 5 minutes. Thank you. The city manager's report. I've already
Y'all want me in there?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know what Jeff is here. I'm not even sure what they're doing. No, I probably did. That's up to the board. I don't know who's Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was interesting, huh?
Hey, I need to verify some of the spelling. Okay. Got it, okay. Yeah, I get Steve, there's one other thing. No, I got Mark Ross. Enjoyed your I'll do this at 6 Street tomorrow night. Yeah, you can walk 7 I'm not thinking. Now the last 12 months, well, no, you know, let me get this thing. This back. Well, I see him. Live change, you know, live change. Some things. I'm actually going, I'm looking for places. I'm like 4 acres. I'm going to be around. I just want to get on. Right now, sorry, it's fast. I haven't been playing. Oh, I know. So I'm just going to rent a house in college here. I'm looking for the time just to walk quick and leave. Walk quick and sell. The good news is, we officially cut off Rodney Davis. Oh, really? Getting rid of them. No longer city money, just money. Cut off Egypt after their.
Is that everyone? Officer Milner?
Yes, ma'am.
Is everyone in?
Nobody else is standing out there.
Thank you. At this time, we are back in regular session. We have item number 19. Item number 19, consider and take any action necessary as a result of executive session. Is there a motion at this time regarding this?
I'll make a motion to direct city attorney to create a contract on behalf of the EDC and the buyer to sell price.
Is there a second?
Can you repeat that, just to make sure I have it correctly?
His motion was to
To have the city attorney create a contract on behalf of the EDC and the buyer. Sell price of $140,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion at this time? All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. The motion has passed. Next, we will have department reports, even though. So we will start with Chief Barnes.
I'd just like to say that we had a great national night out. Probably over 600 individuals and citizens came, so everything worked out well there.
Nothing to add at this time.
Thank you.
We had the recycle this weekend. We had probably about 15 cars come through. I think the weather really portrayed and hindered a lot of people coming out. And we did have a good turnout for everybody. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next, we have the city manager's report. Jennifer, do you have anything?
No.
Mayor and Council, we've got training coming up. I believe Jennifer told council back in June. See if anybody's interested in attending TML training, annual meeting. I don't believe anybody responded that they wanted to go. Staff that is attending this year is Chief Barnes, Jennifer Wood, and myself. So we'll be at TML the next 2 months. And then we're begin to work on the policies, updating personnel policies, and moving forward on implementing the budget.
Welcome. We have council closing comments. Councilman Flood,
No, thank you.
Councilman Moore, Councilman Jennings, Councilman Smith, Councilwoman Hoiberg.
I just have a question. Since we had all the citizens complaining about the water bill, does that have to be put on as an agenda item for the next meeting, a discussion of that, or?
What I did was I told the people that if they wanted it to be an agenda item, then they needed to either tell us, tell City Hall, or make a request some way, shape, or form if they wanted to have a discussion item where we could discuss it back and forth with them. I sort of left it in their ballpark as to whether or not they wanted to request it. Huh?
There was an awful lot that were here tonight and didn't.
I got a lot of calls and seen a lot of stuff on Facebook, and I figured eventually somebody would want to talk to us, but.
Okay, so it can come forward as an agenda item?
Yeah, if somebody requests it be put on the agenda.
Or a council person decides to
Yeah,
put it
yeah.
on the agenda?
Yeah.
Three council.
I think we single.
No,
one.
One
That's all it
person
takes.
on.
What's that? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
That's all.
That's all. I have no comments. So at this time, is there a motion that we adjourn? Second? All those in favor? We are now adjourned at 9:26.
For records and being in Austin, so 1:30 tomorrow is the oral argument. We're trying to get down there about 1:30, so we can go, so we can go listen to the oral argument. But it's like, I can't wear my country clothes in the car. I have to, we're driving straight there, so. I have to.
Get that right. She'll draw it up, and you see it, so if they agree on it, it comes back.
then they put it on the agenda. Before you lay.
Yeah, before we yeah, I did have
Okay.
Such a phone there. Neighbors, such a phone.
Okay. Contract, nobody direct them to be.
Yeah, that was, it is very close to that, so.
And the difference will that be taken off the bottom line? If I say take 2 or 3 months or 4 months from now, you know, it takes 60 days to close and a month, the next month to meet, to approve, to the number come off of the
I
bottom
think
line.
that's what's gonna be on the contract, so let's say the payoff ends up being 130. Then EDC basically pays $1,000. So that, I mean, if you agree with that dollar amount, that's what they're recommending.
I thought the EDC can make profits on it. They can make profits. It's not a profit organization. I'm not making money. I'm just, I'm just saying, I just couldn't understand. I didn't care. No, I didn't mean it that way. You know what I mean? It's not a profit organization. It's not gonna put a kink in the road. That's what I'm looking at.
And I think because they lost so much on it, I don't think it's gonna.
Think about it. I just thought we want to see anything.
Further. Another one.
Congratulations. Thank you.
You are most welcome. Look forward to doing business with you in the future.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I don't know if you knew, one thing that the council didn't bring up. Well, she'll write that in, that was taking notes on that, but they, in the lease, it says that you can find so this is overriding that.
But it says that asking price, I wasn't buying it.
No, I mean, they looked at it, and it actually says that you have an option to buy
At 185.
So they kind of
We've dropped down.
put a mark through that and dropped it down,
35,000.
because that's really the money that they put into it.
I thought they went back to asking.
They won't do it.
They need to have the lease agreement.
The last one?
Yeah.
Unless maybe you have another one. Okay, then show it like the one that says, it looks like it's asking price.
She just read it.
Yeah. Maybe there's multiple copies.
Yeah.
The first, it was 2 different leases. The first one up, we extended it 3 more years. It was 3 years plus 3 more option with the asking price of 182. Okay. It's 2 formal agreements.
Yeah.
Cut those out so you can make sure. I'll go to Nancy on Monday.
I mean, regardless.
Oh, yeah, but regardless, but it's fixed either way.
Yeah.
So
So
that's,
the EDC will, when we meet, then we'll
get started on
approve that,
approve that
and
and
then it's presented to you, so you can sign off on it, and then it goes back to the council for their approval.
And that's next month.
yeah.
Thank you for your help, sir. I appreciate it. All of that? I'm good. Congratulations, you've been to the meeting. But when we close, you will have to bring PTOs to the council meeting. If many people was here tonight. No, I meant for the council. Yeah, I'll do that. Well, you might include the fire, police chief and the PO. They're welcome at any time. They're welcome at any time. That's not a big deal. It's easy to do.
My neighbors.
Come to Van Alstyne, start 19 years old. Yeah, I'm making so much money off pizzas, I just throw it back in,
They asked me if I would. I just said, no. I said, yeah, I'll ask how that's done.
You gotta throw out what that little box Hey, I thought it was he didn't get me right as I was using the squirt gun to squirt firemen.
It's funny because you got your life.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate it. I was going around stealing their water gun all the time and shooting people. I like them.
Jerry Connor.
Yeah, he don't know. Oh, yeah, that's your boy.
Say something, boy, he has to kind of go with him.
He writes lots of things on
Oh,
Facebook.
I know it is. I know. I thought it was. I thought it was.
Hey, John, did you go to the Austin College in Southwest?
I didn't go.
We're playing Friday, Saturday.
They're all freshmen. They got their football program. Are you freshmen? How they do? How they do? Second. Let's say, is that right?
We hung with
I'm going.
Houston Baptist, which is a D1 school.
Is that?
We were winning. We've been winning all of that.
I'm going. I'm actually going up there this weekend.
It all worked out because we're going to be in Austin. I did drop me off in Georgetown.
Yeah, we played them, and I knew that they were all freshmen. Started the football program.
I went and drove your car.
Did you?
Yeah, it was. It's good, but we were buying a house. My loan guy was like, "Hey, you need to wait till." Oh, there you go on that.
Your kids, no, they know what. She gave me 16 for gas.
But I mean, it's still about right.
I'll talk to you. But I'm going to wait till we're buying. We're buying. We're about to close.
You're too late.
I probably all the county officials. Yeah. They're going to be courthouse That's what I was thinking. I think we gave
You don't really have an option. Because that's the only thing, that's the only hammer you can.
But you can back
If you have that hammer out there, developers are not going to touch it. They know there's a hammer out there.
I'll hold the rest of later.
Just make
We're
it
going to play some golf again.
Soon.
I went down with the next day. We were 18 last week. Played the Week Airplane charity golf tournament.
Did you hit the green on 17th?
Yeah, I was the only one on the team. Well, A wedge.
Yeah, it's 9 there.
Yeah. We played that.
I played Saturday.
We had
horizontal miss.
Yeah, I was coaching soccer and all that.
When I 19, I think it was 88 or something like that. They gave me a convention in the American Heart Association. Back then it was 10 to 12,000 people. And we had a golf tournament associated with it. All the guys in Dallas had friends around the office planning. We had a trade team. And back then we had a hole-in-one contest on each of the par threes. Or maybe we just had the one. But anyway, we had a hole-in-one contest on that hole. Somebody made a hole-in-one.
Well, they had the
Won they won a 35-inch TV, which back then was big as it got.
They had a pretty tough.
Somebody else says something
I had a truck in there.
Like this.
It's only if you're involved, right?
First time I ever went out to play in a tournament, and on that hole, they had one of those BMW roasters. It was cool looking. And he couldn't vote. So he got on. Not John. Leaving on the agenda. Did you talk to? Please.
That's why the president.
He will. He will.
See you, Jennifer. Y'all be careful driving.
Be an MWH one, so. MWH won't be there. My former. They only have 7,500.
You know, like they did last year, but I guess it's maybe it's, I don't know if they have it, but it's going to get a long time. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll probably.
When the lights
See, I'll
walk in with us, they get in
Well,
We're too tall.
You need to make sure that Jim's there before he does that.
Well, and who am I going to talk to? Yeah, that's the only person I know. I know Scott.
Angela's fun to talk to.
Let's find Angela.
Angela's the short age. You may not matter, but she can't.
Okay. So if I see her, I'll just say, are you Angela?
And and if you don't see her, you probably. She's really sweet. I mean,
I'll stand in the corner.
she was my right hand on the Garza.
But don't get me wrong, I have no bad impression of Angela. She's the sweetest thing ever. She's just allowed.
Well, after we hired her, Gail. Gail was in the car. She's crazy. She goes, why did you do this? Slip through the cracks.
She is terrible.
You can drive me as crazy as you want if I know you got my back.
And she's got a heart big as a football.
Oh, really?
I got all my bags over here. Are you already ready? Thursday?
Well, that's what, no, there's no dinner. Everybody's just like, drinks. So that's why.
And you'll get with Cindy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to go over here. Because if you're
Good to see you. Good evening.
I sit here and look at
If anything, yeah, Thursday we'll plan.